So our itinerary in Myanmar, we flew from Bangkok, Thailand to Yangon here. We stayed there for about 3 nights to see the sights. Then we continued to Old Bagan to see the temples. And we were looking at different options on how to get there. And we actually chose to fly there because it was very affordable. And a lot of the bus options were not so good. Which I was quite happy because we took from Old Bagan, after we stayed 5 nights, a bus to Mandalay, and I think it took like 6-7 hours, and it was quite the kidney crusher and honking of the journey, but it was still fine. But yeah, I was pretty happy that we actually chose to fly from Yangon to Old Bagan. In Mandalay we stayed about 5 nights as well, so in total our trip was around 2 weeks. From Mandalay we flew then to Chiang Mai in northern Thailand. Now from our itinerary, missing, for example, was Inle Lake, that is here, which is one of the popular destinations that people usually go to in Myanmar. Our reasoning was that we wanted to cut some destinations and just stay longer in one place to get the better experience. That's what I've noticed, that try to cut the amount of places you go to and enjoy the places you are going to more. That's, in my opinion, better. Here, however, in Myanmar, I have to say that, for example, 5 nights in Mandalay was way too much. Yeah, there's no good way around it. Like, the place is a bit of a kip and a shithole, really, to be honest. And outside of the temple mountain and this one palace, which was also a bit of a letdown, there's not much to see either. So 5 nights in Mandalay is definitely too much. And now looking back, if I would cut something, I would definitely cut Mandalay out of my trip. But then again, it was really handy for us to take the flight there and connect us back to Thailand to go and see northern Thailand. So that's how we went. So we started our Myanmar journey from Yangon. It's a bustling big city. The first thing you'll notice when you get there is that it's quite run down and quite dirty. Really looks like a developing country. But the people are lovely, very, very friendly. It really is the real land of 1,000 smiles. Thailand was nice, but and the people were nice there, but I have to say that the people in Myanmar are even nicer, and they are so friendly. So it's a beautiful place to visit, just to get to meet the people there. So in terms of what to do in Yangon, it's definitely sightseeing. The religious monuments they have in Yangon and in Myanmar in general are just breathtaking. As something spectacular built by humans, Shwedagon Pagoda is really second to none. I have seen nothing really that tops that.
Shwedagon.
Welcome to Yangon and welcome to Myanmar. We're here at Shwedagon Pagoda. You can see it leaning behind me here. It's 99 meters tall and about 1,000 years old. One thing to consider when you come to Shwedagon Pagoda is that at the middle day and the sunshine is like a frying pan to walk over here. So you have to kind of look for the shadows or come in the evening. Do you want to take a picture? With me or? Okay.
Moving around Yangon, they actually recently banned motorcycles and scooters in Yangon, so the traffic is a lot different than what you would see in other parts of Myanmar. As you can see here on the pictures from the streets, it's actually filled with cars, not motorcycles. So that's a bit of a difference, definitely, if you compare to something like Vietnam or even inside Myanmar to Mandalay, which is just packed with scooters, and the traffic is just insane. The way to get around Yangon really is either you walk, which is okay. We, for example, walked from our hostel to the Sule Pagoda, and that was just fine. and you can easily walk around. The other way to do it is just use taxis. Now €1 is about 1,600 Kyat, which is the local currency, and we took some taxis that were 2,000 Kyat for 2 people. So that would mean it was about euro and a bit over for a taxi, so it really costs nothing. What you can also do is that if you want to go see the sites, you can actually hire a driver to take you to all of them. And a lot of the times these drivers are quite cool guys, because they also speak English and they can tell you about the buildings and such. So that's something I would definitely recommend. That also puts some business towards the local entrepreneur.
So, what do you think of the cubicle?
I think it's beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah, it's actually quite comfy. It would be nice if there would be a bit more space you can put the luggage in, but otherwise it's very nice.
We also decided to hit the night market in Yangon, which was a nice experience. There's a good atmosphere there. Jana ordered some sort of a sea monster that had been deep fried into a crisp. That was quite nice actually. And I ordered some sort of plate, what I thought to be some sort of curry, but it was more like a plate of some sort of gloopy grass. Didn't end up finishing it, so that was not the nicest experience food-wise. But the traditional Myanmar way of eating, that you have a lot of small different kind of dishes around the table that have different kind of vegetables, and then they add that to rice, is actually quite nice. So definitely try the traditional Myanmar meal if you ever go to Myanmar. After Yangon, we flew to Bagan. The domestic airport of Yangon was basically empty, and the propeller plane, which was Myanmar Airlines, was also pretty much empty. There was about 15 people on board. It was a bit terrifying at first, but actually it was a very good flight, good experience. And when I checked it later, they had actually a good security rating as well. So it ended up being one of the best flights we had in Asia. So really no complaints there. The history for Old Bagan and Bagan archaeological zone goes all the way back to 9th century, when it used to be the ancient capital of the kingdom of Bagan. Back in the day, they constructed over 10,000 temples here on the site, which nowadays about 2,000 still stand. When you arrive at the airport or at the bus station, you have to pay a tax or a ticket fee for the whole area of this Bagan archaeological zone. For us, it was about 30,000 Kyat, that's about €20, and that's more or less going to the government, unfortunately, not to the local people. But there are no ticket prices to the temples themselves after you have the ticket. You just have to remember to keep that archaeological zone pass with you all the time when you're going around the temples. And there are a lot of temples to see, more than you have patience or time. There are a couple of ways you can explore the old Bagan area. You can walk, which I would not really recommend. The distances are quite large. You can rent a normal bike, which is a good idea. You can rent an electric scooter, which I think is even better idea. And the one that we enjoyed the most was actually just to take the horse carriage with a local driver. It's a good choice because you can tell the driver kind of what you're interested in, and he will take you to the hot spots, and he will also take you to kind of temples you wouldn't be able to find yourself, and nice spots you won't be able to find yourself. So that would be my recommendation. I need to add here as a side note that we did rent an electric scooter. You can only rent electric scooters in Old Bagan area as a tourist. You're not allowed to have a proper motorbike or a scooter. That we did rent one, and we did run out of battery. I made another video about that fiasco. The range is, according to the guest house, about 25 kilometers, but when you pop 2 people on it, the range is considerably less, closer to maybe 10 kilometers or something like that. So you will run out of juice quickly. The same is not true with the horse.
So after the fiasco yesterday with the e-bike, we opted for the more traditional horse-powered method of transportation for the exploring of the temples today. So far it's been great.
One of the most popular activities in Bagan for the tourists is of course to go and see sunset and see all the temples when the sun is going down, which is a breathtaking view and something you will never forget. But there are a couple of spots that are totally overcrowded. A lot of buses are coming to these spots and dumping huge amounts of German tourists on top of them. So actually ask at your guest house or ask the locals what will be the alternatives, or just go exploring with your scooter, because you can easily find temples that don't have a lot of people on them and you can still climb up and see the sunset. The number one attraction in Old Bagan is definitely Shwedagon Pagoda. One of the fun things in Myanmar is that there are a lot of locals always also visiting the temples that you are visiting as a tourist, and they're very keen to take pictures with you, and they're very keen to try to practice their English, especially if they're school kids. So example, at the Shwedagon Pagoda we met a bunch of local school kids who wanted to practice their English and who wanted to all take pictures with us. So that was a very fun experience. Our last stop on the Myanmar trip was Mandalay. As stated before, I think it might have been better to skip this one. As things to do, there is a palace, which you need to leave your passport at an armed guard at the entrance because it's a restricted zone, and as something to see, it's okay, not great. And then there's the Mandalay Hill, which has hundreds and hundreds of steps that you can walk up, and on the top and all the way going up there are shrines and temples and Buddhas. That was much nicer, but it wasn't also anything very spectacular, especially after Bagan and Yangon. I have to also confess that I'm not the biggest fan of walking barefoot on the bird shit and the dog shit and whatever else shit that was on the steps that were not very clean. The other big differentiator between Yangon and Mandalay is the traffic and getting around the city. In Mandalay you can still drive scooters, so it's packed with scooters. It's very Vietnamese style traffic. You can easily commit an assisted suicide just crossing the road. And on the sides of the roads or on the curb is completely broken. So basically you always have to watch out not to fall into sewer when you're walking around in Mandalay. So if you're going to do any kind of even a bit longer walk, you just have to take a taxi. And the taxis are 2 or 3 times more expensive than Yangon, and what we noticed. So all in all, if I would do it again, I would probably just skip Mandalay.